You might find this interesting. We've got a little collection of Second World War artefacts. This is a British airspeed indicator out of a Sea Hurricane. It's got the AM marks on the back there, dated 1941. These were developed for use for night operations, and as you can see, if you look very carefully, you can see that the dial and the numerals are painted with luminous paint called mainly radium. The interest of this is to show you just how radioactive these dials actually are. I've got this Geiger counter from 1969 with the wand, a very ancient looking thing, but it still works really well. Switch them on. I've got the little earpiece nearby. Actually, we won't put them on the sensitive setting because this dial has got a lot of radioactivity, as you can hear. If I put the earpiece up closer, you can hear him clicking quite happily. You bring him nearer. See, that's background. Bring the wand a little bit closer. You can see just the amount of radiation that's coming off. Mainly gamma rays. If you look at the needle on the gauge, it's shooting across. That's not even on the most sensitive setting. Quite amazing. The radium girls in America in the 20s actually contracted various forms of leukemia and cancer through painting luminous dials such as this, and obviously had very shortened lives as a result, because the gamma and beta waves can penetrate bone. We put that to one side. We've got another gauge to show you. This actually is a really well made item. This is a boost gauge out of an Avro Lancaster. As you can hear, there's plenty in there as well. It's a plus 24 boost gauge. I'd say either Spitfire or Lancaster bomber. Looks remarkably new, but the interesting thing about this one, looking at the labels in the box, is this one was taken out of a plane in 1949, and the reason for it being removed was low luminosity. As you can see, the red label there, which was attached to the gauge, says low luminosity. Comes from Perth, which says it's repairable, so presumably they could have just repainted the dial. But what happens, the luminous substance over a period of 10 years fades away, because the radium in the dial actually eats the radioactive, eats into the luminous substance. So you can actually prove this by, as I say, with the Geiger counter clicking. If I can just put the gauge back on the box there, you can very carefully, as you can see there's plenty there. See the gauge rising? And that's, as you can hear, it's almost a constant tone. You see on the one there, we have it set to gamma and beta. But you can see there on the, you've got like recesses in the aluminium which would allow the beta rays through. We can't measure the gamma, but it is there. If you really want to make the needle go mad, you can actually, as I say, you don't want to do this very often, but on this boost gauge you can actually unscrew the bezel, which I'm doing now. Say the radium dial girls in the 20s, they used to lick their paintbrushes and to point the brush and then to apply it. If we can make him stand up. Get rid of that. There we go. There we are. Be very careful with this, not to break the glass, because obviously we want to put it back. But you can now see it's actually a beautifully made item, but say the radium paint is very apparent, and if you listen, You can bring the, let's pop the earpiece up there a little bit. You'll now be able to hear the beta radiation coming in. Bring it a bit nearer. It's virtually constant. That is an enormous amount of radiation. So even the plastic doesn't shield it. I'm looking at the gauge there. It's gone right off the scale. It's not even on the most sensitive setting. Let's put him onto the 50 partition. See, needle's flown back to the 0. We'll take the wand now. We're measuring, say, we're measuring beta. So we'll bring him up a bit closer. Yeah. 2 inches away, 1 inch away. That's that, it's going right across the, that's on the 3rd scale. That's very high. That's what those radium girls had to worry about. Very innocuous and small gauge there, I hope you agree, but that is pouring out radiation. So the actual glass bezel actually shields alpha beta rays and some of the gamma, but the gamma will just go straight through because it behaves like an X-ray. So, well, obviously those ladies, when they were painting dolls in the 20s and 30s, they really didn't know what they were playing with. Or rather, probably the government might have done, but they probably kept it quiet. It's a bit like asbestos poisoning in more recent years, really. I mean, it's the economics outweigh the human life sometimes, doesn't it? But I shall slip the old bezel back on there, because we've got to shield ourselves from those rays, because I'm sure I'm probably getting a pretty good dose. Hope you found it interesting. A little bit of, say, 1969, that was the same year they landed on the moon. And this radium, incidentally, will go on cracking away for another 1600 years. So if that got in your body would be eternally suffering. Hope you found it interesting. Thank you.